the time.
Gentlewoman from Illinois.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to yield 7 minutes to the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Jeff Davis, who has worked so hard on this issue.
Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've come a long way since Julia Carson and I introduced the original version of this bill, H.R. 840, nearly 2 years ago. The McGinney-Vento programs haven't been reauthorized in nearly 15 years, and I'm glad that the Hearth Act was able to get this important discussion going again in Congress. The Financial Services Committee held 2 hearings on this issue last year, and the testimony that we heard from the providers especially had a large impact to give us all a reality check on the different types of homelessness we're facing in this nation. For example, in my part of the nation, in the heartland, in Kentucky, I like to call it homelessness in plain sight. We have very few of the classic HUD definition of homeless, but in reality, the vast majority, overwhelmingly so, are single parents with small children, more often than not a battered woman with small children. It's especially poignant for me to be here today, and I have to thank my friend and former office neighbor, the late Congresswoman Julia Carson. I was honored that she asked me to join with me originally to work on this bill with her, and I give special thanks to my congressional classmate, Congresswoman Glenn Moore, for helping me to keep this issue at the top of the committee's priorities. I'd also like to recognize the tireless work of all of the homeless advocates on this bill, members of staff here, so many team members that worked hard in common cause. But in particular, one person that I have to recognize and thank is Linda Young from Welcome House in northern Kentucky. Linda was the one who originally brought this problem of leaving children and families out of the HUD homeless programs to my attention over 2 years ago. She came up to Washington to testify for us about her hands-on experience with this issue, and truly she has been an inspiration, not only here, but to thousands and thousands of the needy in Kentucky. As a fiscally conservative Republican, I fully support the federal investment in the homeless assistance grant programs. A roof over one's head goes a long way, but it's truly the supportive services combined with housing that have the biggest impact on changing a person's path in life. These programs lend a helping hand to people who want to build a future and pursue a dream. This type of federal assistance has a lasting and positive impact not only on the recipient, but on our communities and, frankly, on the federal treasury. To help children, especially now, in this time, in this formative time, to keep them from becoming part of the system in the long run, of falling into the despair of a hopeless future. It is critical that we make this investment and we give our care providers on the front lines the opportunity to build relationships that will transform lives. My primary goal in co-sponsoring the Hearth Act was to increase local flexibility. Homelessness in Kentucky's 4th District is not the same as it is in California, for example. Local continuums and providers should have the flexibility to tailor their programs and grant funding to meet their unique needs and not have Washington bureaucrats try to give a one-size-fits-all solution for the definition of homelessness. This is all about acknowledging that homelessness looks different in different parts of the country. Homelessness has many faces that for the most part go unseen by us and the public at large. They walk by us every day in the shopping mall and on the street. We see them passing us in the stores and in the parks, and regrettably, even in our churches, we look the other way because we don't have eyes to see. But if we open our eyes, if we ask for that gift, and we see, then we're called to action to make a difference. I'm thrilled to see that we've come to a compromise with the Senate on the definition issue. The compromise includes homeless families and unaccompanied youth identified by other federal agencies. In HUD's definition, this was a problem. This is a huge step towards ending homelessness. I thank everybody who has worked on this across the country, those here in the chamber and on the Hill, those in our communities around the nation. And for me especially, I'd like to take a moment to share, as I stand in this chamber, as I walk the halls of Congress tonight, and especially for me, what I consider one of the most significant legislative pieces to affect a generation that is coming up now. I am humbled to be here. I was one of those children who had to leave in the middle of the night. I was one of those children whose mother, in desperation, married somebody who probably should not have been married. A man who was violent, alcoholic, adulterous, a mean-spirited individual. And I know that feeling to watch as a helpless 6-year-old when your mother is being hit, and to step between those two, and to leave the house, and to hide in the closet. The secret that the neighborhood knew nothing about. But that reality and that pain for us came to salvation by the grace of God, that there were little islands of opportunity where we could take refuge. The truth, though, for so many thousands is that is not there. They have to move to other towns, other school districts, and other communities. What this does is provide that island, that helping hand. It helps us with our weaker brother. It helps us care for those who are around us in a way that I believe is responsible both fiscally and an obligation morally. I commend all who have worked on this, and I say God bless you for your efforts. And I yield back.
Gentlewoman